Hello and welcome to Practical Knife Reviews. Today for you we've got basically a clone of another knife. This, and you can see it's been used a little bit. This is the Amazon Jungle Survivor spear slash knife. You can get it from Bud K, everybody's favorite site for finding just insane, literally insane stuff. This was on sale when I got it. It was a 2-for-1 sale. You can buy them on their site now for $15, which, yeah, that's a fair price. I guess I should mention first that this is a clone of the Cold Steel Bushman. Cold Steel has two different versions. They have a Bowie version and a version that's shaped basically exactly like this. Theirs is in Japanese SK5 steel and runs about 2.5 times more expensive than this, even when this isn't on one of their 2-for-1 sales. But this went on 2-for-1 sale with the $15 price, so I got two of these for $15. One of them I kept for myself, this one, which I use as a beater, and one I gave to my brother. Now I would like to have had my brother's here to show what it looked like new, because he basically has never used that, but he more or less lost it. So all I've got to show you is this one, but I'll drop in a picture, if I can figure out how to do it, of what it looked like from their website new right now. So I said in the first part of this video that I was going to insert a still frame of what this Amazon Jungle Survivor looked like when it was new, because, well, as you can see, it is not new, but got one better. In between when we filmed this video and now, my brother was actually able to find his Amazon Jungle Survivor, which has been used like twice. So we should be able to see pretty easily what it should be like versus what mine is like now, because I've used it a lot. So my sheath, along with the ferro rod that I put into here, originally it would have looked like this. And this is the original ferro rod versus the one I put in there, which is why you can see I put the one in there that I did. Just wanted a bigger ferro rod, plus the one I put in there works pretty well. In any case, this ferro rod does work, and it goes in like that. Decent retention. But like I said, with the loop being this low, it is very handle heavy. So if you try to ride it on your belt, it ends up tipping all over the place, speaking from experience. But let's look at the blade for a second, because that's, I think, the more important point here. Let's see if we can see. You can see how much material I have sharpened back off of this blade, and you can see that I've reprofiled the tip. These were identical originally. This has actually a pretty nice textured blackened surface on it, and it lasted quite a while on this, but I've really beat the snot out of this for a couple years. But you can see what the shape originally was on this one. This one has only really had the edge touched up and nothing more, whereas this one has had extensive reprofiling. So instead of giving you the still image from the website, figured since my brother was able to find this, that we'll just insert this clip in between the outdoor part and the typical indoor part. But the rest of the video will be looking at this one again, as we had already recorded it. So just keep that in mind, that if you buy these, this comes in, and like I said, it was buy one get one free, so I got both of these for about 15 bucks. Okay, so hopefully I figured out how to drop in a still frame. If I did, you'll have seen what this looked like originally versus now. But the reason it's so beat up is I've used it as an absolute beater knife, batoning and sticking into trees and throwing and making spears out of. Plus I left it in my shelter in the forest that I made out there for a while, and it was damp in there, and Mouse decided to chew on the sheath while I left it in there. So this was eaten through, so I just duct taped the top. But it comes with this sheath, which can go on your belt here, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's super top heavy when you put it on your belt, because you've got more weight in the handle than you have in the head, and that's all above the attachment point. So if you put it on your belt, which I have, it ends up just flopping all over the place because of the handle weight. In any case, it comes with this sheath. It comes with a fire steel, but not this fire steel. It came with one about, I don't know, a third of the size, but I've got a bunch of fire steel, so I gave the one from mine to my brother, so he has two, and I've just got this one, which I put into here. But again, this isn't the one that it comes with. It does come with the fire steel that works, though. It's just a lot smaller than this. And needless to say, when they come, they're not eaten by mice. But this is 1045 carbon steel, so a low to medium carbon steel. Super tough, does not hold an edge super well, but super, super tough. Let's grab our slice and stuff. See if I have it sharpened right now, which I think I do. Haven't used it in a week or two. Yeah, fairly decent. You hear there's a couple of catches. That's pretty sharp. It's a really thin edge. So that's paper. There. We'll try it on cardboard in case you decide to open your packages with this. That goes through very easily because it's sharp and it's super thin. Ooh, I should have grabbed, I've got one of my spear sticks over here. So the way that this works, in case you're unfamiliar with the cold steel Bushman, is you basically just seat it on the top of a stick, and then you put a screw into here to hold it on, and then you've got a spear.
For all our cougar killing needs in the backyard.
Yeah, it actually does seat on there pretty well too. And with the screw, it doesn't go anywhere. But yeah, mostly I don't use it for spearing needs other than just playing around. But I use it for beating on stuff. So that's what we'll do right now. So we'll try batoning. This is pine, softwood. And the one thing I'll mention, the handle is perfectly round. So your hand, it can twist in your hand a little bit. But if you keep that in mind, it's actually not particularly uncomfortable. We just got to keep the sharpened point on there. And like I said, 1045 carbon steel is very, very tough stuff. So you can do, even though this is relatively thin stock, and we'll take a look at it inside, even though this is relatively thin stock, I wouldn't worry at all about breaking. Not to mention that even if you could temper it relatively hard, which 1045 it doesn't, you can never really heat treat it super hard. But even if you could, for it being a spear, they likely wouldn't temper it hard. But like I said, 1045 doesn't really have the capacity to get heat treated hard. Now this is oak, this is a hardwood, hardest wood in our forest. And you can see the thin profile allows it to go right through it. And that's why I use this as a beater, because you don't really get that wedging ability of thicker knives, but this is really so thin and it's long, and you can really wail on it, that you can go right through it without much worry. So, for batoning, it works surprisingly well. Anyway, yeah, it does rust. It's 1045 carbon steel. There's not too much carbon in 1045, so it rusts a lot slower than you think it would compared to like a 1085 or 1084 or 1095 carbon steel. But I left it in the shelter in the woods for, well, all summer it was out there, so it got a little bit rusty. In any case, we'll try feather sticking with it. Now this is where it's not the most comfortable thing. For batoning, it's actually okay in terms of comfort. It does want to twist on you a little bit. But for feather sticking, there's not really a great way of holding it to get different kinds of grips on it, because it's just round. So basically the grip that you get is the grip that you get. But
looks like it's working well.
Exactly. You can get it really sharp. 1045 is super easy to sharpen because of the low hardness capacity for it. And this has a really thin profile, so you get very nice feathers. That's why I use this as a fire starting knife pretty frequently. So that's the pine. Let's grab a piece of oak now. This is the oak, this is a hardwood. And again, we see sharp edge plus really thin profile. It had a little bit of a steeper secondary bevel originally, but it's been sharpened so many times. I had the edge roll pretty bad here when I hit a knot one time. So I really have sharpened this significantly. So the profile of the blade, or the geometry of the blade, is a lot thinner than it was originally, but it was sharp out of the box. That's something to keep in mind, is that the geometry of this is a little bit different than it would be if you opened it in your box right now. But despite the fact that there's not really a super comfortable grip, you can get pretty good feathers out of that because of, you know, the thin blade stock there. Ma, why don't you comment on what you think of the Amazon Jungle Survivor?
Ugliest functional piece of metal probably that we have. Yeah, I would have thought it was like, you know, a total piece of junk garbage, but it works really well, especially for that feather sticking and
Well,
then
and
for
you've seen
batoning.
how hard I've been beating on this for, you know, years. You know, I've thrown it into trees and stuff like that. And sure, I blunted the tip and had to reprofile that. I rolled the edge really badly and had to reprofile that. But, you know, you put a little bit of work into it, it's not going to break. It's just going to need some, you know, maintenance and stuff. And you can see I don't have the screw in it right now, so I'm not going to do any real like waving it around and stuff because I don't want it to come off. But you can see you can drive it into that wood pretty deep. If I can get it out. There it is. So you see, I mean, that was without much wind up. But in any case, yeah, fun knife to play with. We'll take it inside in just a second, and then we'll let you have a closer look at it and the specs and everything. We're back on Practical Knife Reviews looking at the Amazon Jungle Survivor, the beat up one, needless to say. Again, I already showed you, hopefully I will have showed you what this would have looked like new if I figured out how to insert still images, but I'm useless with technology, so that's a big F. But hopefully you saw what this looked like new. And you can see this has been used quite a bit. But I guess let's just take some measurements. I'll let my mom talk about this while I give you the measurements of what it's like now, because this will not be necessarily representative of what it was like when it was brand new.
Completely functional piece of metal. Ugly and functional.
We're looking at just over 12 inches, like 12 and probably 1/4 inches overall, with a blade that is, I mean, where would you call the blade ending? I guess if you measure the blade right to here where the handle starts at 7.5 inches long, with a cutting edge of about 6 1/4 or so, there's a pretty big unsharpened portion here. But yeah, that's the look at that. I guess I'll give you a close-up look at how thin this is, since I mentioned it several times. You can see how thin that stock is for such a big slab of metal. And like I said, that's 1045 low medium carbon steel. Weight. As I said, it is a big slab. So just how heavy of a slab is it like now? Again, keeping in mind that this is not going to be necessarily representative of what the weight was when it first came in. Can you see the numbers there? Maybe if I move that. There you go. Okay, how heavy is this? It is a whopping 11.6 ounces, which is 330 grams. It was certainly more when I got it. I've had to remove quite a bit of metal in terms of sharpening and reprofiling because of all the stupid things I've done to it. But it is a big chunk of steel. I'm not even going to bother throwing in this for a weight measurement because it's a different ferro rod than it came with. And I've got a big slab of duct tape here on the end to cover up the mouse chew hole. But you can see it's a big slab of steel. It's ugly. Yes, it's a knockoff of a cold steel knife. The cold steel knife almost certainly is better in just about every way. I would assume it has better steel. The SK5 is a better steel than 1045. But if you get the 2-for-1 deal on this at Bud K, you get 2 of these for 15 bucks. Keep one for yourself, give one to your brother who's never going to use it. And, you know, I don't know. I think that that's a pretty good deal, especially considering all of the... I've definitely done more than $15 worth of work with this. So even though he lost his, doesn't even know where it was and basically never used it, I still got at least $15 worth of work out of this chunk of metal. So, yeah, despite all of its ugliness and flaws and, you know, it's a Bud K knife. What more can you say? Let me get that light back on it. Despite all of that, for me, it was still worth it. Any final thoughts, Ma?
No, but because I'm afraid of predators, if I was hiking alone, this on my end of my walking stick as a spear would make me feel a little bit safer.
What do you think about the value if you get 2 of these for $15 versus one for $15?
Excellent value. It was functional. It did good on feather sticking and batoning, and it's functional.
Yeah, well, and you've seen what I've put it through. I've literally used it for prying stuff before. But yeah, I mean, I would say even for $15, this is well worth that. But if you can get a 2 for $15, that's a pretty good deal. But in any case, we'll cut the review right here. That'll be it for this episode of Practical Knife Reviews. Again, looking at the Amazon Jungle Hunter, or Jungle Survivor. Sorry, the letters are so worn off that I can't read it anymore. The Amazon Jungle Survivor from Bud K. So let us know what you think of this knife, and let us know what you think about having clones of other knives. Again, this being a clone of the Cold Steel Bushman. Let us know what you think about clones of knives. I know that that's going to get some very angry responses in our comment section, but so be it. At least we'll get some engagement that way. So take care, everyone. Hope to see you again real soon.